I'm not a very good multitasker, but I'm trying.
That's all right.
Looks like things are getting ready to go. I like that. Is my sound okay? Is my lighting okay?
Oh,
Can you hear
yeah,
me?
you're great. I can hear you. See your lips fine. We're good.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's get ready to cue it up and let's do our thing, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, I am thrilled to have Lance Allred on here with me tonight. I have been trying for a couple years to have this work, and thank goodness he was able to adjust his schedule. He just came off of a podcast to come on live with us tonight, so this is outstanding. We're going to cue some music, let people come on live, and then we'll get started.
All right. Where we got the final countdown coming?
Yeah. Got to jazz it up a little bit.
Okay. We're going with the smooth jazz. All right. Got it.
Sounds like Easy-E back in the day. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, as we just talked about, I want to welcome everybody to another edition of the Coach Scott Fields Show. I'm the Coach Scott Fields. And just to get this out of the way, make sure you subscribe to our new YouTube channel, the Coach Scott Fields Show. Also, like and follow us and share this content. Give us a lot of reactions tonight because this is going to be a fascinating journey Lance is going to take us on tonight. Honored and thrilled, Lance, that you could join us here tonight, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me, Coach. It's nice to actually finally meet together at the same spot at the same time when our paths have been crossing for years around the globe through the game of basketball.
They truly have. And I'm glad you said that because our passports have the same ink from a lot of the same stops. But like you said, just not at the same time. But
yes.
But not only have you been a very successful basketball player, you have done a great job with your speaking, being an author. And that's the journey that I really want to dive into. So our viewers around the globe can really get to know what Lance Allred is all about. So let's go with that for a little bit. Let's start off with you're a successful author. You've gotten 3 books. Your newest book, the new Alpha Male. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, the new Alpha Male really is, it's a beautiful ascension, I guess, of all of these multiple facets of life and journeys that I've gone on. With the hearing loss, 80% hearing loss, being born in a polygamous commune in rural Montana, there were no amenities to learn sign language. Wow. And so I had to be in speech therapy until I was 15. So I was very shy and introverted as a kid, very uncoordinated. My parents encouraged me to read and write to express myself. So I had to learn how to read first, and I'd watch people read, and I began to read their lips, which really helped me figure some things out. And so writing has always been my first love. And so I was actually a writer who played basketball.
There you go.
Player who played, who happened to write. And when my father blew the whistle on child abuse and money laundering in our polygamous group, I was 13. And I lost all of my cousins who had been my best friends. And the 13, that year is such a transformative age that your whole world is ripped apart and you have no friends. And I'm now in a new part of the state. And the coach saw me walking down the hall one day, and I grew that year in 8th grade from 5'10" to 6'4". Slept a lot.
Your 8th grade year was your first year of ever playing basketball, correct?
It was.
Okay.
It was. And I couldn't play basketball with my hearing aids in due to sweat and concussion issues. And the first game I ever played, the ref ejected me because he thought I was ignoring him.
Oh, because you didn't hear the whistle.
Yeah. And so right then people were already putting limitations on me, saying, yeah, no, you can't do that. And I said, watch me. And started writing down my goals, and I put my goals above my light switch, and I flicked them on and off. Every time I touch my light switch, I read my goals out loud and chase those dreams. And I had a high school coach, Kerry Rupp, who woke up every morning, met me at school at 6 a.m. for 3 years and worked out with me before school. He didn't receive
Wow.
an extra dime for that. So I
Wow.
always push back on people when they say, oh, I started a successful business by my own merit. I pulled myself up by the bootstraps. BS. Someone there helped you along the way. Any success story, there have to be people there to help you along the way. And that is true leadership, the humility to know that you are where you are because you've been fortunate enough to meet the right people who gave you a chance.
Oh,
And that
great point.
humility endears you to people. And people know that you acknowledge that you don't have all the answers, that you're just human. They want to be a part of your team because they know that, hey, you're going to say, I don't know, I'm learning with you and we're doing this together. That's heart-centered leadership. Whereas, growing up in the Cold War era was already authoritarian dictator style enough, but then the basketball coaching circuit thought that was the way it was too. And we have a lot of coaches over the last 10 years whining or complaining, saying, oh, the generation's soft now. What they're really saying is, oh, this sucks because I can't verbally or emotionally abuse people anymore. And
Great.
they're
But
saying,
it's so true.
it's
Yeah.
true. And I push back and I say, well, do you know what really is weak? The inability to adapt.
Yes. Yep.
As Darwin said, it's not the strongest or the smartest. It's those who are most willing to adapt that survive. Stubbornness is the inability to adapt. I had a lot of stubborn coaches. Perseverance is the ability to adapt. That's the difference between them. And I had many wonderful coaches who showed me perseverance, and I had many not so great coaches who showed me stubbornness. Also adding to that, growing up in a polygamous cult, where you have these leaders that rule with an iron fist,
Wow.
that you have that context where you're coming from too, that they never apologize and never say they're sorry. It was, oh, well, the Lord told me that yesterday, but now today is this. So they give
Wow.
themselves a perpetual get out of jail free card. And so, coach, I know I would enjoy playing for you, but in my 10 years of pro ball, how many times do you think I ever truly had a coach? This isn't bashing on the other good coaches who didn't, but how many times do you think I ever had a coach truly apologize to the entire team in person?
Maybe one at the most, if
One.
that.
Good job. I
Yeah.
had one. And
Right.
it's my last coach, a tiny Puerto Rican guy who had every right to have a Napoleon complex. But
Wow.
he came in mid-season because the other coach was fired. He brought in one of his own players, and it really messed with the team chemistry. We lost 6 games in a row. And instead of him coming in saying, oh, yeah, I screwed up, you weren't in good enough shape, with that, the half-ass apology, it was, guys, I screwed up, and I'm going to make it up to you.
I
Now,
like that.
coach, you think that made me think he was weak?
No, that
No.
probably made that drew you to him.
Exactly. I would run through, and I still would run through a brick wall for Coach Juan Cardona, because he was that kind of guy who could also pull me over to the side and say, Lance, what are you seeing there in the middle as the big man? What are you seeing that I can't see from my angle?
Mm-hmm.
And I would
Love
tell
that.
him. Now, whether he followed my advice or not did not matter. Just the fact that he was willing to hear what I had to say, seeing me as a human being, was enough.
Love that. That it showed that he was giving you ownership in the success of the team, and
Absolutely.
that's empowering. That is so empowering, my friend.
He was giving us equity.
Yes.
And it's so funny. I work for these corporations, and I go and I speak and I work with them, I train them. They're like, oh, we want them to adopt these principles. And I'm like, did you ask anyone else what they thought the corporate principles should be? If you want them to invest and buy into the program, you got to let them put some skin into the game.
That's
Put
right.
some emotional equity into it.
That's right.
And then
Yes.
to have some pride of ownership with it.
Lance, I'm glad you said that, because I start off the first meeting of every year with our team, and I ask them what their team goals are. I ask them what their personal goals are, and what can I do to empower them to help them achieve that.
Right.
That's the first one-on-one meeting that I have with them. I look them dead in their eye. I give them a good firm handshake and say, will you allow me to coach you? That's my first question with any team I've ever coached.
And that's the beautiful thing. And the thing is, you set them up for accountability.
Yeah.
Because if they were not in integrity with or alignment of what they say they valued, you could call them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the funny thing is, coaches didn't like it when I pushed back. And I said, Coach, you say these are the team principles, but you're not doing it.
Yeah. He's not living by them. No action.
And that's where a lot of coaches didn't understand that, wait, Lance, you're a team captain. I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm telling you this. No, a team captain is you're the yes man. I'm like, no, we had a misunderstanding of what you thought my role as a team captain was going to be.
I love that.
And so I love that you have that energy about you. And so through all my wacky stories and journeys of playing at the University of Utah for 2 years and at Weber State, going through a lot of heartbreak there, playing overseas and then toiling in the minor leagues as the last guy to make the roster on the Idaho Stampede, to be the token media guy, this guy, the deaf guy, go do all the communication work, right? There was a stress there. I didn't play for like 3 weeks and I was depressed, making $1,200 a month as a professional basketball player in the minor leagues. And within 1 week, because I chose to stuck it out. There were so many times, Coach, I could have thrown in the towel and said, fine, I'll go to law school or something. Within 1 week, the starting center broke his leg. The backup center got recalled to his NBA team. And by default, I became the starting center. And my first game on the road in Bismarck, North Dakota, I gave them 30 points and 10 rebounds after having not played for 3 straight weeks.
Wow.
And this goes to show that I had a choice during those practice times when I wasn't playing to pout or complain, or to say, all right, this is my game time. That when my teammates are running ahead of me and they're making the layup and the fast break drill, I'm going to go with them, even if they don't need me. And when they make the basket, I'm going to go one stride further and touch the baseline and run back. And sure, my teammates laughed at me because I wasn't cool. But what does cool get you? A cookie, maybe, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And so I knew, and I believed in the laws of physics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And I knew if I kept putting in, I would get one shot. And that's all I needed, just one shot. And little by little, I grew from that. And I made the NBA when I was 27 years old. And you know what the average age of an NBA rookie is, which is 20.
Yeah.
So that's 7 years longer of heartbreak and disappointment, but choosing to get back up and playing on. And through all that, the writer in me was always alive, but I didn't really show them to everybody. I started writing my own memoirs as more catharsis to make sense of the crazy politics of basketball that you know full well.
We've seen the strings at the puppet show, my friend.
Absolutely. And when people, if you don't want to be Debbie Downer, but when people spend so much money on sports, they want to believe it's pure merit. Otherwise, why are they spending all this money?
Yeah.
And so when you tell them, oh, it's political, they're like, huh? And then you have to say, okay, Charlene, with that much money, you think there's not politics involved? And she says, oh, yeah, I guess that would make sense. Wow. And so through that, I continued to write. And my first book, Long Shot, was published by HarperCollins in 2009 after I was called up to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then my latest book, 10 years later, The New Alpha Male, really is this beautiful weaving of a tapestry of all my basketball experiences, moving out of the storyteller memoir archetype to more of a teacher archetype.
Wow.
And these lessons that I was able to translate from experiences came while I was speaking on the stage. I was going through a divorce my last year in basketball, 2015, and I didn't want to be away from my son. And so I figured I got to figure out something to do to just be with my son. And after making the NBA, lots of schools were always asking me to come and speak to their kids. So I hear there's this rumor that people can get paid to speak. Let's try it. So I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
But I started just speaking to schools and chambers of commerces, but I never wrote my keynotes beforehand. I trusted my ability as an athlete to get in my body. And we live in this day and age where everyone's in love with their stats, and stats gives people the illusion of control. And that's why everyone's freaking out right now with the pandemic, because they're like, wait, I thought we were in control. We had all the
Great
information.
point. Great point.
And it's funny how we see all the CEOs go to the front rows, pay their fancy tickets and to the arenas, and they'll say, oh, great, great instinctive play, LeBron. It's a broken play, but you trusted your instinct and you went after it. Wow. But then the next day they'll go to work and they're hamstring their employees and say, well, what did the stats say? Failing to learn the lesson of what the athlete is teaching, that stats may inform us, but they don't drive us. Stats help you as a coach. The scouting film helps you as a coach have a general idea of a strategy, but you were never naive enough or vain enough to operate with the hubris to think that you had all the answers and that the other team is just going to be one-dimensional and walk out and not have new plays, new strategies, new wrinkles that you aren't prepared for. So you have to pivot and you have to adapt. And that is masculine and feminine. That's getting in your body, walking the path of the heart. And that's what the athletes are teaching us, to get out of our heads and into our heart, in our body, to adapt and flow with life. Everyone wants to be in control, but then they're losing their understanding of why they love to watch the athletes, because we're not in control. We're just dancing with life. We're in the zone. As you know, when an athlete's in the zone, it's not like I'm in my head. I'm not aiming my shots. I'm just in my body and I am flowing with life. I'm responding with it. I'm not trying to control it. As you know, when you aim your shots, that's when you miss. You just flow and you dance with it.
Yeah.
And so I'm in a position through all my experiences and my hearing loss of reading people's body language and being a student of culture, all these cultures I played around the world, and from the extreme one I grew up in, of being able to take all these experiences and turn them into teaching points and give people actionable skills through my 7 principles of perseverance, which are the spine of the book, giving people action points that they can begin to go inward and start to walk the path of the heart, which is what the athlete does, which allows us to play the game of life better.
Wow. I love hearing that. And when I hear you speak, and let me know if I'm speaking too quickly, if you can't read the
lips. We're good.
Okay, good. I hear a lot of the Zen belief, Phil Jackson from the tribal stuff. And I'm wondering, have you drawn some inspiration from some of those types of things?
Great question. I love Coach Phil Jackson. I've known we're both from Montana.
Yes.
But Chief Joseph is my greatest hero of the Nez Perce tribe.
Wow.
So I know a lot of people say, hey, you sound Eastern, but I'm like, actually, it's more the path of the red man is what we call it. And I love working with Native American youth in my basketball camps, helping them understand that so many of these kids have been conditioned to be self-loathing of their culture. That understanding that, wait, you don't understand. Your culture is the epiphany of the path the true athlete has to walk, of masculine and feminine, of knowing when to press and knowing when to surrender. That, as you know, we see a lot of people ultra masculine trying to be rah rah, or the angry male motivational speakers trying to push back against this wave that's coming, and they're off balance. And as you know, if you have a player that's shooting it every time, he becomes easy to guard.
Yep.
He's hyper masculine. Shooting is masculine, passing is feminine. And if you have someone that's always passing the ball, never taking a shot, they become easy to guard. So you have to have the dance of both masculine and feminine, which is so much of what the red man path teaches us, of always knowing when to be present in the zone, when you can best respond.
Wow.
Not in reaction.
Yeah. See, I love that. And when a player is able to play on instinct and from muscle memory, from all the repetition and going the extra mile, that's going to be a successful player like what you were for going the extra mile and putting in the extra effort and reading body language. I coaching internationally, when I coached in China, I had to rely on my translator.
So much.
Yes. And that was the first time in my career that I was 100% affected by how well he translated what I was speaking. And I
Right.
was blessed that I had a great translator who
Yeah.
was able to articulate and get my point across, because I would watch on the court and I could tell if they understood the direction by if they, just
Body
like you
language.
said, by
Yeah.
body language. And
Mhm.
so in my timeouts, Lance, the point guard always sat right in front of me. Then I
Mhm.
put the 5 and the 4 man. Then I put
Mhm.
the 3 and the 2. But
Mm.
the point guard being the general, I needed
Yeah.
him to understand clearly. And
Right.
that's why every time out, my point guard is right in front of me. And I could tell by looking at him in his eyes if he understood the concepts and what we needed to try to do. So
Absolutely.
I understand what you're saying 100% by
Mhm.
saying, paying attention to body language. I think it's something that we need to be more in tune with
Right.
and be better at.
And but that's the dilemma we're in right now as a society, going back to the pandemic and the quarantine, is that the internet and the information age told us it's okay to cut off our bodies and think the brain has all the answers. The brain is logic, the heart is intuition, the gut is instinct.
Ooh.
You have to have all three. You have
Working
to have the
together.
healthy balance of all of them.
Yeah.
But as you know, if you're in your head and you're analyzing, you're one step behind
Yeah.
because someone's already made a move.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we have become so fear-based, and people want to say, oh, what do the stats say? Because I want to take a risk with not much of a risk, though. I want to have a big return on this, but I want to make sure my risk is minimal. But that's not what the athlete says. The athlete says, my intuition says to step out, take this risk, and come what may. And with accountability, I will continue to own it. And with accountability and acceptance, acceptance is saying, all right, always with accountability, I missed those last 5 shots because that was what's supposed to happen. Why do I know that was supposed to happen? Because that's what happened. It's saying I am only as good as my next shot. That wallowing in guilt is not accountability. It keeps you stuck in the past. Yep. Acceptance gets your ass into the present, into the moment, where you can make the best informed decision possible, being the best teammate at that moment for everyone on the team.
Wow.
And so, right.
So good. That's so good. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Lance Allred. He's here on us with the Coach Scott Field Show. He's sharing wisdom. He's sharing experience. He's sharing expertise with us all. And for us to be able to absorb his knowledge right now is truly a gift and truly a blessing. Want to thank him for being on our show. Let's talk a little bit more about growing up in the polygamous cult. For people who are not from the this area, there's a lot of people from the Midwest and the East Coast and around the globe who watch us. But talk more about growing up in polygamy and what was that really like for you?
I am fascinated with culture.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a culture that said we're God's chosen people, that you have to have at least 3 wives to get the highest degree of glory in heaven.
Wow.
That it was impressed upon me also that God had made me deaf as a form of punishment.
Oh, really?
For doing something unfaithful in the pre-existence.
Mm-hmm.
And there was the dichotomy of we're so special, but also we're not worthy enough. And so it creates this constant back and forth, and the guilt is what becomes the operating mechanism of how we process it all.
Wow.
And so from such an extreme background, I love talking about culture. And culture is truly our biggest blind spot. And you played all around the world and you heard it. Every league says our league is the toughest league in the world.
There's that ego.
Absolutely. Everyone and their mother says our values are the best values. And so if every culture is saying this, then it's a wash, leaving us to opportunity to ask questions about, well, how do I know these values or absolutes or stories from my culture are actually true? I don't. But that culture is our biggest blind spot, and that culture drives so many stories.
Wow.
There's talk about the micro culture, growing up in polygamy. God is a broody God. Love is conditional. You'll be disowned if you leave the group. You're going to hell if you leave the group. Very fear based. And most people operate in fear.
Mm-hmm.
My travels around the world, you have trust or fear. 90% of the world, I would say, operate in fear. Fear of abandonment is usually the greatest motivator. Let's go more, a little bit more geographical. Montana, Rocky Mountain, Utah, right? Pioneer heritage. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Don't complain. Don't ask for help, but always be ready to ask for help. But always be ready to offer help. American culture, we're God's greatest country. It's our job to bring democracy to the world. Now, I can look at these stories and say they're just stories and still be grateful for the American Constitution and what it afforded me, a deaf polygamous kid from Montana, to go out and do in the world without having to buy the stories. Stories come from our culture, and our stories provide the biggest blind spots. And I always check stories. You have an experience, that's not in question. But how we choose to narrate that experience, the story, is always in question. And so much of the way we narrate our stories come from our culture and our family. And so from an experience like that, growing up in polygamy and then having the huge, just that whole paradigm blown open when I'm 13, always being introverted as a kid, watching people, studying people, living between worlds, the signing and the hearing. I couldn't work. There were no amenities to learn sign language where I grew up. So I've always watched people as an outlier in the middle and asking questions about, why are we really doing this? Has anyone taken time to ask themselves questions about why am I doing this? Usually it's just to belong, and they're afraid of abandonment. And so that background has always led me to be an astute observer who's always fascinated with culture. Yeah. And so when I deal with clients one-on-one or at the corporate level or in team settings, I always go not by attacking their religion or their politics, but gently going in through culture and getting them to objectively, what are the values that your culture dictated for you? Just look at them. And then you'll begin to see that how many of your stories, your happy endings, like me for so long, I was driven by fear that even after we broke away from polygamy, I had the deep-rooted story that God was angry with me in my subconscious, that I had to do something superhuman, like be the first deaf player in the NBA, and then God would be proud of me.
Wow.
And so imagine I get to the NBA when I'm 27 and I'm shooting a free throw in front of 16,000 people. And a thought comes to my head and it says, is this it? Is this the best that it gets? Well, why don't I feel any different? Sure, my ego is happy, but in my heart, all I still felt was, if I miss this shot, I'm going to lose my job. If I lose my job, I won't have any value to offer the world. A woman won't think I'm alpha enough to marry me, because I grew up in a culture that the more alpha you were, the more wives you got, the more power you had, the higher your church calling.
Wow.
And so everything was a very clear, objective metric of how I could measure my worth as a man. And that's just logic. And logic, again, is a blind spot. Logic is what our brain does to do mental gymnastics, to stay within our culture and stories and our paradigm. Logic does not necessarily mean rational. Rational is being able, in a position you've been many times, being able to see everyone's logic from their various cultures and bring it together.
Yes. Yes.
How can we work together? That's rational. Logical is not necessarily rational. And after I was released by the Cavaliers later that next season, due to the economy collapse in 2008, 2009, I nearly committed suicide.
Oh.
Because my story was clashing with what is. So much of our pain comes from our stories. And we hold on to our stories no matter how badly that hot coal burns, because we believe it's our merit badge, that it identifies us. When you realize that experience may have happened, but I don't have to tell it from the victim or the child archetype.
There you go.
I can begin to teach it from a teacher archetype. How can I alchemize that hot coal into gold to share with other people?
Wow.
And so that, looking back, is the great alchemy of a new alpha. And I don't want anyone to think a new alpha male, the book, is strictly for men. No,
Yeah.
it's for men and women. The 7 principles are gender neutral, and it really helps all genders meet together with compassion to have more authentic communication, no longer driven by stories and fear that we project onto other people, but that have real conversations. And learning to work with all of those and begin to heal and rewire the entire motherboard, that our brain is like an empty hard drive. And the culture you're born into is the software operating system that's installed into your brain. You and I, as Americans, were installed with a Macintosh algorithm.
Yeah.
And yet, here, the Japanese, they have a Microsoft brain or a Linux. And we're saying, why isn't their computer operating at the same algorithm and metrics as mine? Obviously, they must be an inferior operating system. Again, that's our blind spot running the show.
Wow.
Getting people to really go and peel away the culture and see how much of their stories are driving their lives, but also giving them pain. Really, that's the path of the new alpha, is really being able, is on a quest of clarity, not happiness. Yeah. A new alpha male or a woman is an actualized leader who is a leader of their own life, who is brave enough to say, I decide for myself my metrics of success. No other person's metrics. I do.
There you go.
And as you know, we've all had that friend that tries too hard to be funny and they're just not funny.
Yeah.
Same thing for people who want to be leaders, trying way too hard to be a leader, that the insecurity just smells. And you're like, oh, I can't follow that, because you don't
that
follow
aura,
insecurity.
that aura.
Exactly.
Yes.
You get it.
Yes.
You dealt with them so many times. And getting people to be brave enough to redefine their own metrics. And for me, my standard of success is clarity. Clarity that I don't have to operate from the stories and the fears that drive me anymore. And I can look back and say with gratitude, a new alpha, a true alpha, is someone that can able to hold heartbreak and gratitude at the same time. We've been taught that we can either be happy or sad, that we have to be polarized all the time. No, we don't. The earth is half light, half dark at all times.
That's right.
Night and day. If it was always sunlight, plants would die, people would die. You need dark and light. You have to be able to hold a balance of both. So being able to look back on my life of the death of an NBA dream and a failed marriage and all the heartbreak that came with that, and feel it and say, yeah, it still hurts some days. And on the other hand, being able to say and hold gratitude for all the lessons those experiences set me up for. Powerful. And I can hold them both in my heart at the same time. And that's walking the path of the heart.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Lance Allred, and I hope you are being touched. I hope you are inspired. I hope you are empowered with his words. He's humble, and the humility that he is sharing with you from his personal journey is one of beauty in my eyes. I've wanted for years to have Lance be able to come on this show. And to be honest with you, Lance, I am a better person for hearing your journey. I feel more empowered by hearing your story and hearing the strength in your spirituality. And I'm touched by that. And I want people, where can they find your books? Where can they get copies of your books?
You can get my books on Audible, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, on my website, Lance Allred 41. My handle on all social media, as you know, is Lance Allred 41. 41 was my jersey number.
Yes.
And so they're all there, and you can get access to them.
Well, I want people to have the opportunity to find your writings. I feel like now with the pandemic, and now, I mean, we can all evolve and we can take the silver lining from this, and yet we can learn through other people's journeys. And I think if people would go to your website and find these books and be enriched by the reading of them. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the show. I'm saying that because I truly believe in your journey and your story. and for you sharing your humility. It's a wonderful, powerful thing, my friend. And thank you so much for sharing it with us here so far tonight. And we're going to continue to, talk more about that.
Well, thank you, Coach. I appreciate that. And let's touch on the pandemic and helping people's mindset.
Oh, please. Yes. It's so important right now.
We've all been benched.
Yeah.
And I had a choice whenever I was benched to throw a temper tantrum, cuss my coach out, and make matters worse. Or I could sit and breathe and say, all right, this is what is right now. And I have a chance to catch my breath and center myself. And so these last 6 weeks have been a beautiful time for me of walking my talk. That my book was released March 10th, the week it all came crashing down.
Wow.
And I'm like, I have a choice to throw a temper tantrum, or I can walk my talk and flow and adapt with this and pivot and say, all right, the game has changed. Am I going to show a little perseverance and grit here and flow with it and control what I can and keep dancing with the rhythm of life? Because people operate from 3 tiers of consciousness: individual, tribal, and the greater whole. And right now, so many people are vacillating between individual and tribal. A lot of them have gone to individual in the myopic lens, operating in fear. How I get back to the greater whole consciousness every day. The greater whole is where the athletes are when they're in the zone, when they're just a dancer with life, is simply saying, I am just a guest here on Mother Earth. I'm just a guest. And she put us all on timeout. And all I can do is sit and feel my anxiety. What stories are being threatened right now? Oh, my book's going to fail. Oh, it means I'll be a failing author and my book's a piece of junk and people won't see how brilliant I am. Those are stories that come from the ego. And being brave enough to face them head on and breathe. And I tell you this, you are never wasting time during this quarantine if you just sit and breathe.
Oh, great point.
That's just being human. You're wasting time if you're scrolling through social media or it's flipping through the channels looking for a distraction.
Yeah.
If you're getting grounded and just breathing and being brave enough to go inward and start asking yourself questions that you don't want to ask yourself.
Oh, the reflection
time. That is a beautiful time, because for years we've all been saying, I wish the world would just stop for a minute. And we finally got our wish, and a lot of people don't know what to do with it. And they now finally have the opportunity, and many people are missing the opportunity that they're being afforded to have that time of reflection, which is asking questions. Well, why do I still want this job? Why am I afraid of losing this job? Because I'll lose my boat, my car.
The material things.
The material
things. Yeah.
Yes. And you ask, are those even important to me anymore? Asking what is important. I had a can of peaches for dinner last night, Scott. And when I was eating them, I'm like, man, I'm really happy.
There you go. Yeah.
And just being able to see the simplicity of things and what this quarantine has forced us to do. And this is not minimizing the death and all the people on the front line. It is me saying, I can only be where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I can only show up in life in this space. And how am I going to show up today? With fear, or as a dancer who trusts the process of life and that I am here at the perfect time?
Wow. Perfect. And what I hear you saying is you're taking ownership of your actions. You're taking ownership of your thoughts.
Yes.
And you're holding yourself accountable for what you're going to do with the outside stimulus to not allow it to control you and let you have fear from that. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Spirituality without accountability is not spirituality at all.
Amen. Preach that. Amen.
People are turned off to the whole notion of emotional health. Emotional health to me is simply one word: accountability. There's 2 levels of accountability. The first level, which is accountable to all of your relationships, to your external world. Yeah. Deeper accountability is being able to go inward and ask the questions. It goes into the distinction between self-absorbed versus self-aware. And
big
if I
difference.
I'll read a little part of my book on that.
Please, yes, please do.
It's on the new alpha male, but self-aware versus self-absorbed. There's a fine line between self-absorbed and being self-aware. Self-absorbed is a limited scope and mentality where we believe everything happening around us or even to us is about us.
Wow.
A self-absorbed person asks, why is this happening to me? Why does this keep happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? Why do people keep betraying me? People can't be trusted. Self-absorbed people view the world through a childish lens. In contrast, a self-aware person asks these kind of questions. Why am I in this dynamic? What part of me was drawn to this relationship or person? What baggage or expectation am I projecting to this dynamic? What lesson can be attained through this experience? What is this person helping me learn about myself? What is an aspect of my personality or a blind spot I have been avoiding that is being brought to the surface to address via this experience? Last thing, a self-aware mentality keeps you on the trajectory of growth and development of accountability, integrity, and compassion. A self-absorbed mentality keeps you in the victim mentality archetype where growth is not found.
Wow. Lance, hold that book up some more so people can see that book. The New Alpha Male, Lance Allred. Put that in your tools for your toolbox. I really feel it's going to enrich you and help a lot of people through crisis, through trial, through tribulation, to help you get grounded and centered with yourself and your emotions to help control those emotions for you. I really want people to make sure that they can get a copy. Lance, I've got to get a copy myself, and trust me, I'm going to have it sitting right up here where everybody can see it on each and every show. I mean that with all sincerity, not just because you're on this show, but I hear you. A lot of people just want to say, oh, let's talk the basketball. You know, he was with LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. There's so much more to you than that. I see Lance as a service leader, and you are providing a service and you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable so that way you can lead and inspire others. And I think that's a very powerful thing, whether it's alpha, whatever title you want to call it.
Yeah.
I feel better about so many things just by hearing your calming voice and you connecting with our viewers right now through this medium that we're having. And I'm touched and I'm inspired, and I want other people to feel that same emotion and connection that you are sharing with everybody, my friend.
Thank you, Coach. That means a lot.
No, I mean that with sincerity. I mean, your journey growing up in a polygamous culture, you know, not playing basketball, being deaf. There's so many things that you could have said, okay, I can't make it because everybody's telling me I can't make it. But yet you used it for inspiration, to fuel, to prove people wrong, that no matter what trials came at you, they were just hurdles and obstacles that you were going to show people that you were going to overcome. Am I correct?
That's pretty fair.
Maybe not your exact verbiage, but
no,
that's
fair.
And if I misrepresent it, please represent well.
No. I'm being facetious in saying that you summed it up pretty nicely there.
Well, I'm no expert at it, but I know a good person when I see it. I know quality character when I see it, and you epitomize those values and those core principles. And again, I thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this Lance Allred is with me tonight on the Coach Scott Field Show. We're being empowered and inspired. He's on multiple podcasts throughout the day, and he just came on our show after finishing another podcast. So thank you, Lance, for being here with us tonight. Talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, you know, you had 2 10-day contracts. In that time, you know, you're with LeBron James. What types of things did you observe and learn, either positive or negatively, about a LeBron James?
So yeah, being with LeBron for 6 months was fascinating. Not only, you know, guarding him in practice, I mean, he would do things that no one else has ever seen. All you can do is just pat him on the ass and say, God bless you. Right? But people have to understand, he's one of the top 5 most intelligent people I've ever known. He is whip smart. but so many people just focus on the athleticism. They're not
Yeah.
focusing on that he leads the league in hockey assist every year, hands down. He's just that guy that sees the court, and he knows how to break it down. He knows where everyone's supposed to be at the exact time. And also, it's easy to look at LeBron and judge him and assume we know this and that, but coming from where he came from with no father figure, with a mom who was not really present in his life. She slept on a lot of sofas at his friends' houses. Coming out of high school with all that money and fame thrown his way, from the background of support, from the coping skills that weren't really afforded him. Even with that, he's done far better than I ever would have done coming out of high school.
Wow.
As far as the wherewithal and the mental acuity to do what he's done with his career.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, things that I pick up is when you hear him being interviewed in a post-game interview, and he can be descriptive and visual with the detail of that specific situation, that spatial awareness that he has, to me, is phenomenal. And I don't think a lot of people pick up on those little idiosyncrasies of intelligence that he has. But I hear him on post-game conferences. Of course, there's two polar opposites. You love him or you hate him. But I do see his high basketball IQ and savvy that he has as far as basketball IQ on that court at that time, with that spatial awareness.
Absolutely. It was a beautiful thing to play with him and just watch him up close and how he moved, and knowing that, I'm witnessing greatness. Hate all you want, but you're a witness. Is what I would tell people.
There you go. Witness. Yes. Well, who today are some of your role models, and who are some of the people that inspire you to be a better you?
Oh, my greatest role model will always be Chief Joseph.
Okay.
If you read his story, he showed me the incredible power of surrender. He was just 20 miles from the Canadian border trying to lead his people into Canada.
Wow.
He didn't want to be interred at a reservation in Oklahoma. He took his people through Montana trying to get to Canada, and he was just 20 miles away. And he had a chance when he was surrounded to fight and lead everyone to their death, or to be brave enough and trust the universe enough to say, this is my only play, and I choose to surrender for the sake of my people. Wow. There's great power in surrender. Surrender does not mean we quit. Surrender is having the humility to be the Hyoka warrior who would ride into battle backwards on his horse, not as a clown. That people called him the sacred clown because they thought he was being ridiculous. But what he really was saying is, what will be, will be. And all I can do is show up and be a dancer with life. That legacy of Chief Joseph is always something that I refer back to every single day in my walk in the path of the heart. Of the world needs, and he said it best, and his quote was at the opening of my book that I dedicate to him, this: a lot of our problems would be saved and much bloodshed would be saved if we all opened our hearts a little more. Simple as that.
Yes. Love that. I remember, I want to say a few weeks ago, Lance, I saw you with one of your social media posts where you actually got out and played the drum and the rhythm of the drum. Share with us the emotion behind that, because again, a lot of people might have just scrolled through things, but I listened to that and I felt your connection to the universe through that. Share with us about that post, because that was incredible.
The drum represents Mother Nature's heartbeat, Mother Earth's heartbeat. And again, getting back to the humility of seeing just how insignificant you are, that you're just a child, you're just a guest here on Mother Earth.
Mm.
Allows you to then see just how significant you are in the greater whole. Once you accept your role in the greater whole, you've coached basketball, everyone has to know their roles. And we all have to ascend higher into a greater whole consciousness and begin to know our place and our role. And
Mm.
so with the earthquakes we've had here, people are freaking out. But for me, it's been, all right, Mother Earth, I hear you. You're upset. We've been ignoring you for a long time. And you put us
Mm.
all in timeout. And I'm sorry it's taken us so long to just ask you, how are you doing?
Wow.
So
Yes.
every day getting out the drum helps get our brain to theta state faster. People think meditation, and it's funny, I developed all these breathing exercises before the game that are in the book, but I realized that was meditation. For
Yeah.
years, people had this misconception that meditation is trying to leave your body and go to nirvana.
Mhm.
No, meditation is getting out of your head and into your body, getting present, understanding that you are here on Mother Earth at this time, and it's
Mm.
time to show up. Instead of thinking, oh, I can't wait to get to heaven, or it's going to be better in heaven. And Mother Earth is just saying, well, what am I, chopped liver?
Yeah.
It's saying, I am here, I'm present. And so the drumming gets our brain to theta state faster,
Mm.
where I receive a lot of information, intuition, downloads from my own questions that I have.
Love it.
And so going from the culture where I was taught I had to have a mediator between me and God, or source, or universe, or spirit, or creation. I call it creation
Mhm.
because creation implies that I am within it, not separate from it.
Mm.
But I was taught, was led early abandonment, that God is away from me and God is angry with me and I have to earn his love.
Mm.
I call it creation, acknowledging that I am just a dancer in it and I am a part of it simultaneously.
Wow. Wow.
So the drumming is a routine or a ritual that I do every morning when I wake up, just
Love
to
it.
sync my energy and my heartbeat with Mother Earth.
Wow, Lance, that's powerful. And to know that you have that as a tool for you, I think is something I, I've got to be better at that. I'm gonna own it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I am a spiritual person. I do have my quiet time. I have my prayer time, but I know I need to do better, and I need to be more at one with that, and recognize that as a shortcoming that I must do better. So to hear you put it eloquently, you are an architect of words.
Thank you.
I love how you communicate. I love how you get your message across. And ladies and gentlemen who are watching this live, please hit that share button and share this message with others who need to hear this for healing, for reflection, and for empowerment. Share this video with others, and share Lance's experiences from Lance right now is something that can help a lot of people heal around the globe. So, Lance, I want to thank you for those empowering words. Um, I could sit here and talk with you for hours
Yeah,
because,
we
again,
could, couldn't we?
I'm enriched. I really am. But your energy, your aura, um, again, your character and the things that you stand for on principle, I think are great values in any person, whether male or female. And again, if you could hold that book up for us,
Yeah, hold it
the
up
new
one time.
alpha male.
The new
Yeah.
alpha male. It how to win the game when the rules are changing. It what I really pride that it's. I'll read a testimonial from Ariana Rockefeller.
Okay.
This book is a powerful message for all men, as well as a resource for women to appreciate and value them as brave teammates and leaders.
Mm.
It was designed to help men learn to integrate their masculine and their feminine, as the athlete does, walk in the path of the heart, to be bold enough to speak authentically. Anyone can puff their chest. That's not hard to do. Can you actually be vulnerable enough and strong enough to express yourself authentically, and helping women meet them there, understanding so much of our cultural and social conditioning that we are struggling to break through at the psyche level, and
Mm.
all the stories we're being asked to leave behind. It's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
And helping both all genders come together with compassion and meet each other and have more authentic conversations. But the 7 principles of perseverance, coach, I think you're going to read through them and they're going to hit home with you as far as all of your coaching philosophies,
100%.
theologies.
Yeah. I'm sure it will reinforce and reiterate a lot of the practices that we were used. And that will actually put a title to what I was doing that I didn't know I was doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we'll see. And we'll have to have a second conversation on that. That'll be fun.
Of course. I noticed you've got, of course, I know it's just material, but you have a trophy over your shoulder. What is that?
My horse trophy.
Yeah.
NBA All-Star Weekend 2008. Rebounding was my favorite thing, but I also was the writer or the artist in me that I never fought fire with fire. I was a chess player that I learned to score everywhere around the basket, whether it was 2 feet or 18 feet. If everyone's trying to dunk on each other, then it's a crowded market. And so I learned to master the art of the bank shot. And so all I did for an hour was just shoot bank shots to bore my opponents into submission.
Tim Duncan. It worked for Tim Duncan for years.
And so I never got a lot of trophies. I never got MVP awards, but I'm proud of that trophy because I think it represents the poet archetype that I have walked life with, seeing life from so many different angles and trying to be as cerebral as possible. That's what that trophy reflects to me. It doesn't reflect that I was awesome. It's just, it is.
You're not puffing your chest out. You're just saying, this is something that was in my journey.
I see the poet every time I look at that trophy. That's why I love it.
Wow, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Lance Allred, Lance Allred 41 on social media. And we're going to have Lance make sure that we share links to this discussion. So that way you can see where to get those books. I think there's going to be something that's going to be great. I'm going to continue to promote it. I promise you, Lance, I'm a man of action, and I am going to share this video, even when it's done. I'm going to share it with over 60 sports groups. So that way, hopefully people, if they take the time to listen, and if they take the time to slow down and breathe, and they take the time to slow down and get in connection with themselves and the universe, there's going to be so much more harmony. I think we need more harmony.
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to be an architect of words like you are, but I've got a long way to go, my man.
Hey, coach, that's the thing is, we all have archetypes, we all have gifts, and we get caught spiritually abusing ourselves, thinking we need to have a different archetype than the strengths that we have. You have the archetype of campaigner, of champion, of championing people. You have the archetype of diplomacy. You have the archetype of being able to bring reason to so many people and bring in the authentic energy of the lover. That isn't the fake rah-rah type. That isn't, let's go bench 300 pounds now.
Yeah.
It's the lover archetype that is so in life that the lover says to himself, I do what I do because I love it, and I do not care what anyone thinks of me. And that lover archetype is desperately needed right now at this time.
Yeah. Wow,
and so, yes, you can want to be an architect of words like I am. And anyone can develop the skills we all have these archetypes, but depending on how you're coded or whatnot, you're gifted with certain ones. And so I'm not saying don't become a poet and write and express yourself, but I am saying, let's make sure while you're complimenting me, let's acknowledge some of your archetypes as well that the world needs at this time.
Well, Lance, I'm honored and humbled by those words, and I appreciate that. And I hope people see this show as a platform to learn and grow and evolve. And I'm hoping that during this pandemic that, yes, we've put more shows out there because I'm hoping to even though it's not written word,
Mm-hmm.
the word is there. And I hope people
Yes.
take this word and are inspired by that. But it's individuals like yourself who make this and drive this and make it so much better, because it's your words and it's you who are the star and the light. And, your candle will not go out by lighting another person's candle.
Never.
So let's ignite a lot of people's candles and allow each other to shine and grow and evolve, because I think it's a beautiful thing, my friend.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Coach.
Yeah.
This has been an honor. It's been a treat, and I've enjoyed an hour goes by fast, doesn't it?
I, you know,
Crazy.
I don't even know how long we've been on here. I haven't even watched, because I'm so all in on your
Yeah.
words. And selfishly, I'm going to be honest, selfishly, I've wanted you to be a part of this show for a couple years, and it never worked out. But I guess in the right time and the
Okay.
right place, it came together, and it melded beautifully. And like I'm saying, I'm enriched, my friend. I'm enriched, and I can't wait to see you. I know you're miles north of me, but I can't
Mhm.
wait to get together and connect with you and say, hey, let's have some peaches together.
Absolutely. That'll be, we for sure will. That'll be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Do you
Yes.
have any last words that you want to share with the viewers tonight? Because again, I just feel like there's so much we can give, and we need to do the show again and have you back on by popular demand, of course. But let's let you share more words.
My last words, if I could reiterate, I guess, is showing up as a spiritual gladiator in the game of life, where we have all at one point compromised who we are to survive.
Mm,
As a gladiator, I put my body through so much pain and torture just to survive, to belong somewhere. And learning to step beyond that and look back on all the scars that I've accumulated, understanding that my scars are just a timeline of my grit,
mm, powerful.
and being able to look back at gratitude with all those scars for all the lessons and clarity that have ascended through from those experiences.
Mm.
Clarity to allow me to truly be present and ready to play ball with life in the moment.
Wow. I love that. Lance, not only are you an author, I want people to know that you are a speaker, a TEDx speaker, and an amazing corporate speaker. And people can also reach you for speaking engagements
Mm-hmm.
through that same website, correct?
Yeah, website. I do individual coaching, corporate speaking. Also, I work with people in so many facets, and you meet them where they're at, right? Some
There you
people are
go.
ready to go deep. Some people just want let's take some baby steps, and you have to meet them where they're at. And it's not my job to dictate where they're supposed to be at.
There
As
you
you
go.
know, as a coach, we're just bridges.
That's
It's just
right.
my job to be a bridge,
Yeah.
and it's not about me. And learning to let life work through me, not against me or with me or for me, but let it
Wow.
work through me. Knowing my place is not about me. It's just to be a bridge to help other
Wow.
people gain the clarity of their own worth through the cosmos.
Wow. Wow. That is just some amazing stuff. And Lance, I can't thank you enough for being so selfless and sharing your time, which is being pulled right now. Even though it's a pandemic, you still are busy. So
Yeah.
thank you for being selfless, and thank you for sharing, and thank you for being with us tonight, because I'll tell you
Yes.
what, I can't I'm excited. I'm a high energy guy. That's just who I
Mhm.
am. But to hear your words and to know that we've brought more light of your words to the people, I, I'm at a loss for words, and I talk.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing. Again, I want to encourage people to please share the content, reach out to Lance, and let him help and guide and lead you through your spiritual journey, if that's a fair way of putting it.
Sure.
Because to me, I may be biased, but you're one of the best, my friend, and
Thank you, Coach.
I want to bring awareness to that. And it's been so much fun having you, my friend. It's so much fun.
Coach, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to have a healing podcast for myself, because I normally tend to avoid basketball conversations,
Okay.
because, as you know, they tend to get stuck on the superficial.
Okay. Yeah.
But the fact that you were able to let me have a beautiful dance with basketball and the emotional and the spiritual. Thank you for the platform you afforded me tonight to have some of my own healing. So thank you.
Oh, Lance, again, I can't thank you enough. I'm filled with gratitude. And I know we've had so many comments come in as the show was live. And trust me when I tell you, they're all very, very positive. Keep the emotions coming, keep the reactions coming, share this content with others. And I want to thank you. I see people on from New Zealand. I see people that you competed against in Japan.
Hmm.
I know you mentioned Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
We were in Venezuela, not at the same time,
Right.
but you're global, and I love that you used basketball and basketball didn't use you, and I think that's something that's also unique, and I think that's also something very powerful that you've taken the platform of basketball to help enlighten others, and to me, God bless you for that, and keep doing what you're doing, because I couldn't be more proud of somebody uh, to see what you've done. And hopefully, I didn't speak too quickly that you couldn't read my
No,
lips.
that's
But man, what a skill you have, my friend, and what a gift! And thank you for sharing that gift.
um, thank you, Coach. That means a lot. It
Yeah.
does. I appreciate that. So thank you.
I'm touched. I feel your emotion, my friend.
Yeah.
Everybody,
Be good.
God bless. Be safe. Take the time to reflect. Take the time to get in touch with yourself, with your feelings and emotions, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable and open, and share what you're going through with others. And this is a time where we need that connection, and we're missing that connectivity with everybody. So take the time to reach out, check on your loved ones, make sure they're okay, trigger those endorphins with a smile, trigger those endorphins with saying, how are you, and I love you, and you are wonderful. And that's kind of how I want to leave the show tonight. Lance, if you have any other last words, please share them at this time.
Walk in beauty. That's all.
There you go. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful, wonderful episode. Again, share this. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our show channel. I've got to put that stuff out there, so that way, hopefully, we increase our tribe and we get more people to hear the word. So Lance, thank you. I am touched by your emotion and selflessness.
Thank you, Coach. We'll talk soon.
You bet. Everybody, God bless, be safe, and come back soon to another exciting edition of the Coach Scott Field Show, because tonight was something that was fascinating and it was empowering. And I hope you feel that same too. Everybody be blessed and good night. Thank you.